And welcome back, YouTube. Thank you for tuning in as always. I appreciate that. Now today I would like to review Dark Souls 3. And by now you should know what a Dark Souls game is all about. It's an action RPG in its purest form. And it's more action than RPG, I think. It's the encounters with hard-hitting enemies, the trial and error gameplay of reading your opponent's moveset. Is he fast? Is he slow? Is he big? Is he small? And knowing when to strike and where to strike and when to back off. It's sometimes more like a rhythm game than a hack and slash game. So 3 games into the series, actually 4 if you count Demon's Souls. Now, is the last game, Dark Souls 3, any good? Well, there is some good stuff and there is some bad stuff. Now, in terms of design, Dark Souls 3 is unparalleled. It's a throwback to the first game in terms of art direction and atmosphere, and it looks just fantastic. The environments are just amazing. From the decayed castles and ruins to the imposing cathedrals and the treacherous swamps and the dark and eerie catacombs. All levels in this game are well designed, with lots of open areas for exploring, but also with hidden passages to find secret items. And it has an amazing verticality where every structure that you'll see in the game is one that you want and you will visit. So there's not a whole lot of window dressing. Everything feels connected. In comparison, Dark Souls 2 feels like a bunch of different levels thrown together, but that didn't make a very cohesive game. In Dark Souls 3, everything feels connected. It feels like a complete package. And also Dark Souls has, I think, one of the best sound design of any game. Less is more in terms of sound, and it's sometimes more creepy to hear the sound of cracking bones below your feet in the catacombs. And music only kicks in when it actually adds something to the atmosphere and to the situation. Now the fighting system, and I already talked about that, is back in full swing. It's very responsive, it's intuitive, it's looking for that opening in the enemy's defenses. And there are lots of different weapons you can use, and every weapon has different movesets as well. So there's something for everyone in this game. Also, there are a lot of items to be found, like rings that have sort of special abilities. There are consumables that will buff your weapons temporarily. Dead enemies will yield souls. And with certain materials, you can upgrade your weapons. Now, armors in this game, I would like to talk to you about the armors. They seem more cosmetic than in the previous games, which I find a bit disappointing. I mean that you cannot upgrade your armors like your weapons. You can't upgrade your armors, which is, again, that is disappointing for me, because in the previous games I went through a bunch of armors and I picked the one I really liked, usually the lightweight that looked cool, and then upgrade that to make an amazing strong armor. That is gone in Dark Souls 3. If you're playing a strength build like I did, you're pretty well outfitted with the starting armor, and you'll find some more, or maybe some better armor, some more heavier armor, but it's just cosmetic. You don't actually feel you're using a better armor, so that is a bit disappointing. Remember, in Dark Souls 1 and 2, there were specific areas that were highly toxic, and you needed a specific armor to protect yourself against that effect. Now in Dark Souls 3, as you can see, I'm standing in a poisoned swamp, and the poison has built up, and the only effect you can actually see is that I have this sort of haze, this purple haze around me, telling me that I am poisoned or I'm toxic at this point. But I can just move along through the swamp. There's nothing going on. Only a little bit of your health is being chipped off as long as you're walking in the swamp. But it's not that dangerous. You can just walk around like nothing happened. There's no lasting effect. If I'm going away from the swamp, if I step out of the swamp, then the buildup will go down, and that's it, really. Nothing more. It isn't that dangerous. And that's why it was so fun to wear different armors. You needed to do that. Again, in Dark Souls 3, that is not the case. You don't need specific armors. Now, monsters are a scary bunch in Dark Souls 3. They're huge and intimidating. They're grotesque in their design, and in comparison, the bosses in Dark Souls 2 feel small and weak. It's not that the game is more easy than the previous games, but you have more chances of winning your encounters because of the higher number of health potions. I was halfway through the game and I already upgraded my health potion to 8 or 9. So I had 8 to 9 Estus flasks, which is just crazy. There's just a lot of potions. So the game is not easier, but you have more opportunities to win. Because in Dark Souls 1, for instance, I can only remember having like 7 or 8 at the end of the game. So more chances of survival, and that makes it easier for beginners to step in, I think. Now, Dark Souls 3 has a share of problems as well, and as a fan of the series, I'm starting to see the cracks in the painting. I could be wrong, but Dark Souls 3 seems to be powered by the same engine that has been updated throughout the years, but it's pretty much the same thing. And problems that plagued the first and the second game are still present in the third game. For instance, there's a lot of clutter in the game. You can destroy a lot of stuff that's in the levels, but the stuff will be floating sometimes in mid-air and you can walk through it, and that's just not immersive. It's a small complaint, I realize that, but still, it just doesn't fit. Also, there's a lot of clipping issues where enemies can hit you through walls, which is almost unforgivable for a game that demands that you don't get hit by enemies. So thinking that you'll be safe behind a wall, forget about it. There are enemies that will hit you through the wall. Also, enemies will get stuck in walls and behind things, and that's just strange. It's just crazy to look at. Also, the interaction with NPCs is getting old here. You can talk to them, and you'll hear the voice of the NPC talking back to you, but that's it. There's no special animation going on. You're just standing there. It's just getting old. Also, it is very possible to accidentally kill an NPC, and that will cut you off from a certain quest line or even an ending of the game, which I find very strange. It's not always clear if an NPC is an enemy. Sometimes NPCs are just obscured by the environment. It's strange. Also, I experienced a bunch of crashes when my internet connection was lost and desktop crashes and just frame rate drops, which is so strange. You know, I did not expect that for such a modern game. Despite these mostly technical issues, I really enjoyed the game. The game is challenging, but not unfair, because a bonfire to save your game is never too far away, and there are many healing items. The game is especially fun in co-op, where it is easy to invite players to your world or to join theirs and slay bosses together. Or if you want to be an asshole, you can invade other players' worlds and kill them. But you can only visit so many castles and ruins and temples and whatnot, and this feels like it's the end of the line for the series, which makes me sad in a way, but also happy to have completed the journey. And there's still life after Dark Souls, because the formula transferred well into the game of Bloodborne. So hopefully we'll see this unique gameplay back in new games from Software. Thank you for watching. Hope you liked the video. Let me know what you think, and see you next time.